my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham.
I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode number 1 of the Batman on Film Social Hour, which is taking place of the vlog. It's the new name. So you know what I decided? Pete and Garrett, I'm just going to start renumbering. Let's go back to number 1. It's kind of like what? Like DC Comics and
New 52.
and Batman, New 52 and Rebirth and all that stuff. So this is Batman
Basically,
on
you
Film.
decided to retcon Shoe. Like,
Yes. Yeah. So, anyway, I guess whatever you're drinking out there, pour it up. Coffee, milk, adult beverage,
Aqua.
Coke, water. I have water. Okay.
The only caffeinated one here, I guess. So if I really start talking more than usual and faster than I normally do, that's what I'll blame it on.
So yeah, that run when I say Coke. You know, every soda in Texas is a Coke.
Even
So-
Sprite? Even clear soda?
Everything is a Coke. I'd say, Pete, you want to, or somebody ask, you want a Coke? Yeah. What kind? Sprite, Dr. Pepper,
That's
7 Up, everything, So anyway, just a little Texas.
I guess that's better than calling it pop.
Hey, come on now. I feel like that was directly. Now, it's funny because I, for some reason, don't call it pop. And now my boys don't call it pop. So we're the only weirdos. We say soda.
Soda.
I think it's because my mom grew up between Missouri and Iowa.
Okay.
So I think we got soda from her. But it's funny because she now is the most she's lived in northern Minnesota for decades at this point. So she has morphed into the most stereotypical.
That's more Minnesota than the Twin Cities.
Oh yeah.
Because I know I know that area well.
Yeah, we don't have meat raffles in the Twin Cities.
No.
You got to go north for that.
A meat raffle? That sounds like my kind of fun time.
Oh.
Jeez.
Well, let me introduce y'all. Okay, I am the host of this here social hour. I am Bill Jet Ramey. I'm the founder of Batman on Film, and with me from Minnesota is Garrett Greb. Hey, Garrett, how are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure as always.
I am going to talk about weather on the social hour.
Oh man.
Of course.
Okay. It is 37 degrees in Little Elm / Frisco, Texas, and it is misting and it's cold as balls. So, what is it in southern Minnesota?
I woke up this morning and felt like, oh man, it's a little bit cool. Feels a little bit cool in the house. I wonder what the weather's like upstairs. And mornings at our house are pretty hectic with all the kids and a couple boys going to school the first couple days of the week at least. So I get downstairs and I'm like, man, the floor is cold on my feet. What is going on? And I turn around, there's our little Google Home Assistant, and it's showing 14 degrees to me. And I'm like, it's October 27th. And, the ground's been white for about a week now.
Yeah. Y'all had some snow, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, snow when it
Really?
stuck around. It's not unusual for us to get snow this time of year, but normally it doesn't stick around. And normally we don't get as much as we got. But it's hanging out. Now, Halloween forecast, not that we're out trick-or-treating or whatever, is 55 degrees. So whatever's here now is going to be gone, which is good because I'm I'm a bit behind on my suburban dad duties on backyard cleanup, and there's some leaves that should get taken care of, some play toys that need to get put away. So I need to capitalize on this weather to come because we'll get back into winter mode pretty quick here.
It is the high today here is only going to be, it's like I said, did I say 47? No, it's 37 here, not 47, 37, misty, and the high is only going to be 41. And then tonight it's down to almost freezing, and then it's crazy wow. Texas weather. All right, and Peter Bear, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm 55 and sunny, so
okay.
I think it's the warmest one here.
Oh, you are. I believe. And what's weird is, I only moved 4 hours north. I lived in the Houston area, and I live in the Dallas area. And back where I lived for most of my life, until we moved up here to North Texas, in Tomball, it is, the high today is going to be like 78. The high here is going to be 41. That's the,
well, when you live in a state that's the size of most countries, bigger than most countries on the planet, you move north, it can make a big difference. In Minnesota is a very tall country.
Yes.
It's not nearly as wide as Texas.
Yeah.
But you go from southern Minnesota to like International Falls.
Yeah.
That's like two totally different worlds.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy.
I've been in north. I've been on the, the North Shore, Grand
Sure,
Marais,
yeah.
Duluth,
Duluth, Superior.
Yeah. So it is. So
Jersey's tiny. Everything's just 30 minutes apart.
It is, I mean,
So
yeah.
you can drive everywhere.
All right, so we're going to talk some Batman, various forms of Batman, and let's just, the Batman is still filming. No news is good news. That's what people ask. I mean, I get tweets and I get emails. What's the latest on the Batman? I'm saying nothing, and that's good. Okay, we haven't heard anything. It means they're not shut down. It means they're still filming. We know they're going to film into February, so that'll give Matt Reeves a year-ish, a little over a year for post-production. And so, they filmed in Chicago. They filmed in Liverpool. There's been set pictures out there. We're not going to talk about them in detail, even though I didn't think they were all that spoilerish. So, Pete, I think you were trying to avoid most of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, with a bulletproof vest, I mean, they just keep coming. I've been muting a lot of people lately. Nobody take offense to it. I just don't want to see the pictures. Even some just reputable, good people. That I was like, God damn! Like, I gotta mute you too.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
value your opinions on things.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are sharing set pics, and while some of them aren't spoilerish, it's tough. It's tough to avoid. Even Boss Logic took a couple and made his fancy little mini posters that I'm going to steal Bill's idea and go to Walgreens and have them made. But it's rough out there. Twitter is it's the Wild West. Anything goes, and just be careful.
And it's funny that you say, like, even muting like reputable accounts, like accounts that we interact with and follow and really like their opinion, and like some bigger accounts that like you follow for news or whatever. I was just saying the same thing to Bill the other day. It's like, man, it's just kind of it's interesting, and it's not a judgment, right? Like, it's, if people are into that, that's totally cool. There was a time in my life when I wanted to track down every spoiler for every movie I was into. I've talked about it, on here a couple times. The days when like I would check Ain't It Cool News every single day for some spoiler on some movie or whatever, or
Dark Horizons.
Dark Horizons back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, those were my go-to things. And now I think the older I get, the more I'm like, I just want to experience and appreciate, the final product. But yeah, man, I was dodging those things too, left and right. And I made it through most of the day without seeing them. And all of a sudden, like that evening when they all started showing up online, I saw just about everything. And Bill, to your point, I don't think anything was too spoilery, but I was wondering if you're going to bring up the set pics, and I hope this isn't like not cool to ask, but it's a little bit detailed. I had somebody reach out to me, and they're like, hey, do you know if the Batman is going to take place in a world where there's a pandemic? A lot of these set photos have people with masks on. Is that going to be in the frame, or is that between shots? And I said, no way. It's totally, not in the movie. It's just them being safe on set. And then I, replied, and I'm like, I don't actually know that for sure. I feel like it's safe to assume, but I just spoke like I knew for a fact.
Mask out.
Yeah. I don't think this is spoilerish, but I know some of the there's set pics, but there's stuff like logos and flyers and things like that are in the background or on cars or whatever, and it seems like they're dating it like 2019. So I know this came about this year. It's a 2020 thing, because everybody says it's 2020, but that's set protocol. They have, they masking up in between, and then people behind the cameras are wearing masks, and apparently they're sequestered. So even when they went to Liverpool, I was told the whole cast and crew stayed together, and they even brought the extras from they were using in London at Warner Brothers over there to Liverpool, and they weren't using any local Liverpool trades and extras and whatnot because to keep everything sequestered and safe. So, like I said, it's still rolling. Hopefully, it's end of October basically. Let's get this thing, get it finished, and let's look at it next in 2022. I almost said next year, but we're almost in 2021. But of course,
how long have you been saying next year on this?
Yes, yeah,
For
sure. But one little mini subtopic, I guess, when it comes to the Batman is now they're talking about James Bond, the new James Bond movie going to streaming. We talked about it, Garrett, yesterday on the phone. That was us, correct?
Yeah.
Did we talk? Yeah. Okay. And I don't want that for the Batman. I really don't want it for James Bond because I am a James Bond. I love James Bond movies, and I want to see it on the big screen. And I don't know if they're going to do it both. I don't know how they're planning on doing it. I haven't really read up on it or not, but I know there's a bidding war apparently for the James Bond stuff. And yeah, and I'm hoping by 2022 March that we got a handle on this damn thing, and people are going back to cinemas, theaters. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I hope I have no idea. I mean, I'm no doctor, no scientist, but I hope it is. I'd love to go back to the movie theater. I think for some reason I feel like the Batman will be fine. I think James Bond's obviously an issue. Like Wonder Woman, who knows? There's those movies, Black Widow as well. I mean, we don't know when these things are coming out just because, health protocols and such. I'm not sure, but I mean, the movie theater experience takes precedent for me. So hopefully I get that. But I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'll pay to see Wonder Woman on VOD if I need to.
Oh, I will. I would rather see it. I mean, that thing is they haven't budged yet from Christmas
they haven't.
Day.
It's just weird because I've said this before. Like Tenet didn't do so well, Mulan didn't do so well. While people seem to like both movies, they didn't seem to make the money they wanted. So there's really no clear-cut answer. You had two big studios release two big movies, and none of them did well. So it's a weird little standstill we have here.
Mulan, that's I didn't follow that. So Mulan didn't make a whole lot of money.
No.
Okay.
No, they were unimpressed with the returns.
Okay. Garrett, what do you think?
It's kind of back to my small town Minnesota roots. We didn't have a lot else to do growing up, especially like as I got to be a teenager and could drive places. I lived way far out of town. Then to drive in and go to the movies. So that became what we did. And it wouldn't be weird. Small town, and I was a good, highly dedicated high school athlete. I wasn't partying on Friday nights. I waited to discover my love of beer for college. So
yeah, right.
it wouldn't be weird for me to go to two movies a week. Even. Like that wouldn't be unheard of. So I just have this like really deep love of the theater going experience. It's something that I really appreciate, and I enjoyed bringing my older boys to as they start to get older. And the content to me comes first. Like I want good movies. I want them to be highly entertaining. I love rewatching movies at home. When we remodeled our house, I put in a big viewing room, and so it's like, and I know not everybody has that, right? I don't want to say like, well, I'm fine, so whatever. But I would be fine watching these at home. The thing for me, it's just so difficult to think through because you have these different states and different governors with different levels of control and response, and a lot of times rightfully so based on what's going on in the state. I think the concept of releasing, having a wide release for a major tentpole motion picture is a challenging, it's a challenging thought process to go through for these studios because it's going to be so different, from like the theaters being shut down in California to, other places in the country where it's kind of free reign. The thing for me that's weird is these major, cinema chains, I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff, but it just feels like they haven't come up with great plans on how to make this work. Mm-hmm. Because you think in these multiplexes, and this is not small town Brainerd, Minnesota, but like where I live now by the Twin Cities, there's 18 screens at my local theater.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you show Wonder Woman 84 on all 18 screens and only sell 20% of each theater?
And there's like it's the only thing going to be out,
right? It's the only thing going out.
Because and
And maybe it's the staffing model, right? I could dig in from the business side, I guess, more. But you think like you give people a health screening, you take a temperature check, people sign up. If you want to go to the movies, hey, here are the rules. And then our theaters are 20 to 25% capacity in these big theaters that have, 18 screens, and it might make sense for the studios still. Now you get into smaller town America where there's, one theater or 3 theaters, that might be a bit tough, but somebody will run the numbers on that, and you plan on the rest on home sale, and maybe you do the video on demand within 4 weeks, right? Because you can open the floodgates really wide in all the multiplexes to get as many people in safely, right, in all those theaters as possible, and then just more rapidly put it out on VOD and have a hybrid model. I mean, that's what we're doing with our kids in school, right? There's a hybrid model here with safety protocols.
Yeah.
It's a disappointment for me that the studios haven't come up with a plan that they could sell to local and state officials to say, hey, let's let people enjoy life a bit, but do it safely.
I just don't know why the theaters haven't, especially theaters with space. Like, I know you can't do it probably in cities, but drive-ins, like I've been to a drive-in, and they don't have the thing on the side of the car. Like, you just tune the dial in your car on the radio. So I imagine, there's going to be some kind of expense you have to pay to get that kind of technology. But I mean, just put a giant screen up on the side of the building, line up a bunch of cars. Everyone's in their own car, and that's it. You do it that way. Sure, like I guess some kid can steal a movie with a pair of binoculars, and a transistor radio. I don't know.
I mean, more power to them at that point, right?
If you can get creative, do it. But if you can make some money out of it and keep people employed and kind of keep this industry alive, I don't see why more movie theaters are doing. Like, I get you can't do it in New York City, but in the suburbs, I don't see the problem with it. I don't know why they're not at least trying.
Well, we live in a big suburb of Minneapolis, right? And where the movie theater is, it's in a big mall, but that mall is dead. It's dead, man. Like, the restaurants aren't full. People aren't shopping retail clothes in malls right now. So there's plenty of room in these parking lots, right? Plenty of room. Yeah. Like, I thought over the summer we'd start to see this stuff happen for sure. And now it's kind of getting, I just said how much snow we have. Like, it's probably not a great time to do it in Minnesota, but like, the malls have been dead forever. So if you can have parking lot space, sell some concessions where you have high margin, like, there's a business model there. It just feels like, a lot of uncertainty can hold companies back from making these choices, but I would have liked to see more of that for sure.
Yeah.
What's the saying? Necessity is the
mother of invention.
Mother of invention. Yes. I was trying to think back to Schoolhouse Rock and the Mother Necessity video when I was a kid. Yes. I mean, really, necessity. I know the theaters are here. They're open, but they're limited capacity. No one's going. I mean, I went and saw Tenet, and it was me and my son and I think 2 other people, and that was it. Even though they were open, they like 25% capacity. There was 4 people in the theater, and now it's the ones that are open. Some of them aren't. Like Regal is shut down, but like Cinemark and whatever, I checked. I mean, the movies they do show are like old. They're going back to the classics and stuff from the 80s and 90s. I mean, it's so.
Eric went to see Tenet last week. He said he was beyond impressed with just the safety protocols. Like, as soon as he bought his ticket, like the 4 seats on either side of him were blocked off. No one could buy them. Yeah. Any issue he had was not with the theater and how they went.
No, was that out in Long Island, or did he go in the city to? Are they open in New York or still, or no?
I haven't been in the city in 6 months, so I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not sure. The city's a different animal, just because of how on top of everything is.
Yeah.
I've talked to both of you guys about this. I've had to travel through the pandemic, on and off since June, July. So I've been on airplanes, not as much as I normally am, but a decent amount.
Yeah. What's that like?
It is. I was so the day I left, I get anxious sometimes, guys. I don't know if you know this about me. I can get a little bit of anxiety. And the day that I traveled for the first time, I was so anxious. My wife's like, do you just want to lay down? I'm like, yeah, I think I do. And so I drove. A lot of times I'll Uber to the airport to save on the parking fee, but I've been driving because I'm not going to get an Uber. Park there. Immediately in the parking lot, there's signs about masks. There's sanitizer as you go into the building. And I walked into Minneapolis Airport, MSP, and it was just wide open, like a ghost town. and there's no lines at security. Things were sectioned off. There's like sanitation stations.
Or the
everywhere.
restaurant. I mean, I like that airport. I've been there many times.
Yeah, it's a great airport.
Are there restaurants or are those things open or what?
There are a few. It's not as, they don't have nearly as many open, but I think a lot of that's just driven by volume, right? Like the customer base isn't there to keep them all open. But there's protocols there. You know, there's no paper menus, just like you see in most restaurants. So you scan on a phone, things come up. It's all kind of distance. But I've never seen the airport less congested, less crowded. No lines at security. There's not people right behind you or right in front of you. You get I fly Delta with work, and you know, it's a little bit more expensive of a plane ticket, but the middle seats are blocked. They do this like fog sanitation every time the plane touches down. You walk on, they hand you hand sanitizer and wipes, and you've never seen a cleaner airplane with fewer people. I've never had even a row partner, you know, next to me, even 2 seats away. So that's the thing. Like, if you can go through this in the airline industry, like, come on, cinemas, you got this. I mean, I think there's, you know, you got to figure out how to rotate the air in there a bit more and some other things, but come on. I mean,
and we got to get
together.
And we got to get movies made, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's, you know, to be able to put out there. And I know some of them, there's like Bond and Black Widow, we talked about, Wonder Woman, 1984. They're done and ready to roll, but we'll see with Wonder. That's going to be interesting with Wonder Woman 84 to see what it does.
Yeah.
And how, and maybe how quickly, like, we don't know for sure. Maybe they drop that thing video on demand 2 weeks after it hits the, I mean, like first part of January, you know, and then it's on home video not too long after that. So we'll see, you know.
My biggest gripe with Wonder Woman is like this really there's the domino effect, like it delays Wonder Woman 3.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just you think it's going to be as successful as the first one and you hope it is, and it's just like, how long is this going to take? You don't know when pre-production starts for the next one. Maybe Patty's been working on it, just kind of being proactive, but it's like, who knows when that's even going to happen.
Well, the thing that's, I just, you know, here we are getting to the end of 2020, and we would be sitting at, you know, once the new year comes, we'd be able to be sitting here going, we're like 5-6 months away from the Batman, you know, from its original date was in June, you know, and now we're having to wait until almost a year later. So I just want to see, I hope things have changed dramatically by then and we get to see that properly in the theater with all the other previous Batman films. All right, let's move on and talk a little bit. Just want to mention, you know, Pete reviews Detective. He has a new review out today. So check it out. Garrett just dropped a Batman Superman number 13. He also does Justice League. So also the finale of Three Jokers was out. Just want to talk a little bit about that. Pete has not read the third issue, so we're going to talk about the lead up a little bit. But I'll just say overall, this has been, for me, it's been one of the, it was a really, I don't know if I would put it as a classic yet, but it was a really good story, and it was way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought the premise when I first heard it, Three Jokers, that's dumb as hell. You know, there's one Joker, you know, it's the Joker. And I'll just say, well,
you can't say much, right?
I can't say much. Yeah.
Sorry, it's my fault. I'm a physical copy guy.
People may be waiting for the whole thing and read it as a trade paperback or graphic novel, whatever you want to call
That's
it.
next month, right? They've got a hardcover that comes out next month already.
Yeah, I ordered it on Amazon.
I'm sure
already.
Lauer has the absolute edition on pre-order
already. Yeah, he might have a few different editions already.
So just in general, like I said, it was way better than I expected. I don't know if I'd put it in the classic, but I would definitely recommend if you've read the previous 2 issues, I think you're really going to be satisfied with number 3. And if you have not read any of it and you're waiting for the collection, you're going to like it a lot. I think it may even read better as a collection. You know, it's one sit down story. So, you know, all right, guys, just in general, what did you think of the previous 2, I guess, just the whole thing, just in general, without spoiler or anything.
I'll keep it surface level for you, buddy.
Garrett's really giddy. He's wiggling around. He can't wait to talk about this thing.
I really, really, really liked it a lot. And I think I liked it even maybe a little better than you, Bill, because for me, I tweeted, I had a chance to read it, and I tweeted out, like, for me, with this final issue, no spoilers, Peter, but even with the first two, like, this was on the verge of something that was going to become one of the all-time greats for me, and issue 3 stuck the landing. At the end of issue 2, I thought, man, I mean, this is a limited series, right? This is just 3 issues. How are they going to do this in a satisfying way with issue 3? Like, what is it? What's the hook? Where's the meat that I'm not seeing it? And they delivered on that. Jeff Johns, I think, just did such a fantastic job. And, while I enjoy...
And the artwork is fantastic.
Fabok.
I just call him Jason.
Dude, he's on another level. That guy, he's been good. This is great. Like, he has been a very good artist. This is like every once in a while.
It's like a movie, man. Did you get that?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's so cinematic. And like the different like shots of like when he's up close and when he pulls back, what, like you think about it, like a cinematographer plans out their shots, and you every once in a while you get a chance to really see somebody take a leap, whether it's in, sports, like, last year watching Dalvin Cook run the football for the Vikings was like, you're watching somebody like transcend to the next level of their career. Like Fabok, Jason, he did that in this book. He went from someone who was very, very good to someone who was like doing like master class level comic book art. And it was awesome. And Johns, like, big Jeff Johns fan. I make no secret of that. I think he's a fantastic writer. I think he's got a great eye and mind for what makes a good story and what shouldn't be in stories. And I was a bit critical. I talked about Batman Earth 1 on our buddy Lauer's podcast, the Batman Book Club. And like, I enjoyed it, but I had some nits that I was picking on there. And I was like, Johns doesn't write a lot of just pure Batman. It's kind of Earth 1, and then before that, like, I don't know, it's some Rebirth stuff that he was involved, but he doesn't have like this plethora of Batman in his repertoire. And man, he just delivered the goods here. It was, I thought, really fantastic. And there's some interesting choices, Peter. I won't get into those for you, but I thought they worked really well within the story that he's telling and whatever universe this is, because I'm still kind of unclear. There's elements of pre-crisis and New 52 and post-crisis.
We're going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, I think it's the best. It's how would I word this? It's my personal favorite thing that Jeff Johns has done in DC Comics.
Wow.
Really? That's
yes, and that's coming. And let me with a caveat that I am not a big everything DCU and all together, Justice League type person.
No way, really? You?
Yes.
So I team ups and aliens and stuff.
No.
I thought you were like Mr. Give me the winks, give me the nods.
Yeah.
I like.
It's all connected, man.
I like, if I'm gonna, if I'm gonna read Aquaman, I want to read Aquaman, and it goes through any of the others. But Earth 1, I like, but with you, I have there's some things that kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, I think with Earth 1, he's trying to do something so different. You know?
Yeah. And then this is my favorite thing he's done. Artwork was fantastic. So, I mean, you're excited, obviously, to read it. Have you liked it so far, Pete, and you're ready for this?
Oh, I loved it. I mean,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Johns fan myself.
Okay.
My favorite Johns story is probably the most controversial comic book combo in history between him and Ethan Van Sciver in the Sinestro Corps War. To be honest, like those two guys, they seem to make headlines a lot. But I mean, Three Jokers has been phenomenal. Just the 2 issues that I've read so far, and anyone who reads my reviews know how much I love personal stories that just kind of seem to go at the heart of the character. And I think Three Jokers, there's kind of like that 3 element. Batman, Batgirl, Red Hood. There's kind of like that motif that play on that. So like I get why it was 3 issues, but at the same time I was like, man, like I had the same thought as Garrett. Like, how are they going to cram this story in just 3 issues? Like, I know the book was oversized, but I was like, at times, man, I kind of wish this was maybe five, six issues. But,
It's
I mean, I
crazy.
loved it. And it's funny, like when you mentioned Jason Fabok, whatever his name is, Jason's art, you kind of want to just put on like Danny Elfman's Batman album both of them and just play it and just kind of have that music in the background because it feels very very much like a cinematographer.
He told me through Twitter that he'd do a podcast or be a member, a guest on the Social Hour. So we need to.
Oh, that's great.
And he
I
said
know
one-
Lauer's been trying to get him too.
Yeah,
so
he
he's
said
another man.
once it's all. He said once they're all three, it's out. So now that's the case. So big thumbs up for me on it. So I recommend it. You can check
I
out
think it's
yeah.
I think it's my favorite. I want to make sure I'm not saying something silly here and missing out on something huge. I think it's my favorite Batman story since Court of Owls.
No,
That's fair. That's very fair.
that is fair. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Court
I'm
of
pretty sure it
Owls
is.
was a huge hit at the time, and I feel like this is right up there with it. For me, it's reached instant classic. I got to see The Landing. I'm sure it sticks to Landing. I haven't read Lauer's review yet, but I haven't felt this good. White Knight, the first volume, reached instant classic status pretty
I agree.
fast.
Yeah, I was about to talk
and
about
I
White
feel like that's
Knight,
kind of on
yeah.
the same level, but I do like this a little bit more. At
Okay.
times, it felt like White Knight kind of went heavy on the Batmobile nostalgia, but I like this.
It's White Knight is the only thing I've read in a while that maybe since Court of Owls it's really classic status.
Mhm.
But this is this is close. And once I read it again as a collection, and I will admit I read it digitally because we get these to read for reviewing purposes, almost a week before. I've ordered the hard copy, and I'm going to read it, and it probably is one sitting. I may kick it up a notch or two and put it up in that status. But
They
it's
always
fantastic.
read better when you read them
Yeah.
in one sitting. I remember I did a show with Lauer on the Batman Book Club about Joker War because he wasn't too fond of it, and he said it did improve reading it, cover to cover in one sitting. So it works better. Sometimes waiting a month
Yeah.
or whatever can kind of take you out of take some steam out of the stride.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Let's talk about staying with comics. And if you were just wanting the Batman news or discussion, we do everything Batman here. Batman continuity in the comics. And the reason I added this as a topic is I was talking to Garrett on the phone yesterday, and we started talking about it, and I said, that's a good topic. And we just shut it down and said, well, we'll wait. We'll do it on the show. So it seems what brought it up was I said, okay, 3 Jokers. Is this canon? Right? And we were like, because we don't know, we don't know for sure if it's canon.
Right.
It's a Black Label thing. I don't know if that makes a difference, but
I don't think Black Label's supposed to be canon.
Yeah.
I think that's the caveat.
okay. But it seems with Batman continuity in the comics that they've since Grant Morrison days with Batman for the most part, it's been
From RIP.
and through New 52 through Rebirth, they've cherry picked what they want to keep, and they probably kept. I think, and y'all can speak to this. Batman's continuity has been in the comics has been more carryover.
Oh, yeah.
Different than the other DC characters and so forth, right? Or speak to
No,
that
you're-
because I can't,
No, you're right on. And I think, if you go back to really even before Morrison, I think Morrison did this really interesting thing with it's all real, it all happened, different times in Bruce's mind and different things reflect, sort of the interior of his mental state.
Everything
what-
happened that ever happened in
Right.
the comic books, yeah.
Right. Everything happened in some way. Bruce experienced
Yeah.
it, whether it was through hypnotic, states or whatever else, this sort of self-preservation internal bat computer that he built into his brain in case there was ever a downfall, and that you get the Zurina.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
I don't know. That was
Not
my
like I
best
can
guess.
pronounce anything, but
Yeah, that's a good point, Peter. But even before that, if you look at most things post Crisis on Infinite Earths, a lot of that has carried over. So Batman Year One, gosh, what am I? I'm blanking on. Ridiculous. I'm blanking on this. Nightfall, right? And Night Quest, and all of that has kind of maintained the core elements. Maybe not all the story details, but the core elements have been there. No Man's Land is still like in play, and then so you went from Post Crisis to New 52. Almost every other single character started fresh. You look at what we did in Action Comics. It was Superman in a t-shirt and jeans. This is the first time Superman's ever existed. You look at what happened in Batman. No, man, that Batman had his back broken by Bane. That Batman had No Man's Land happen. Like, that Batman carried a bunch of his, pre-New 52 stuff over with him. But it was somewhat selective of how it included. In New 52, you saw Superman versus Doomsday, that Superman's first time fighting Doomsday. But you didn't see Batman's first time fighting that Bane, right? Like that's not what happened. So it was kind of this continuation. And, my thought, and when you say it out loud, it doesn't make as much sense because Superman had a lot of success in the 90s, but Batman, I think, has probably been more consistently well regarded with fewer sort of hard resets than Superman and the other characters.
Well, they have some of they go over to like the top writers of all time, want to do Batman. And so you get good stuff. I can't fathom them ever saying, we're going to get rid of year one. Year one is when
didn't they didn't Zero Year Snyder's Zero Year storyline kind of try to replace Batman?
A little bit, but then now it's kind of like, okay, never mind with that 0 year.
Which I didn't like.
I wasn't a huge fan of 0 year, to be honest. And I'm a big Scott Snyder fan. So, that's just, you're right. I guess it speaks to the stories that we've had in the comic books over the years, that there's some classics have come out of there that just aren't ready to be flushed down the toilet because you start a new continuity, And you're right about Superman. I tried to start getting into the Superman action and all that again, and I was so confused. There was two Superman there not too long ago, and then they morphed into one Superman, and then who in the hell? There's how many Superboys are there? And he's got. I don't even know
how old is Superboy.
Yeah.
Now he's like 25.
It's challenging for me because I love Superman deeply, but I have not been. Superman Rebirth, I think, was good. They sort of got things going in the right direction again. I liked the fact that they brought back post-crisis Superman to replace New 52 Superman, and they had this weird merger thing. Like, there's some goofy stuff that happened. But like,
the storyline leading up to that was amazing, though. Superman and Lois, that was totally, that was pretty great.
In Jonathan when he was still a kid, all of that,
black suit Superman with the beard. It was pretty crazy stuff.
It's great, man. It just hasn't been as consistently good as Batman. And I like to poke fun at the Tom King run of Batman, but you look at the talent that's been on that book from King back to Snyder, and then even thinking before Snyder and into the 90s, like how long was Denny O'Neil really in charge of that Batboat, from an editor standpoint? Like, and talk about a dude that just knows the character, brought back the character to its roots, reinvented the character in some ways, and then shepherded it through like literally 2.5-3 decades of comic book stories. Like, you don't flush all that stuff when you have that much good going on. So that's what this is interesting for me when you see the Black Label stuff, to see like, okay, there's pre-crisis, Killing Joke stuff. There's post-crisis. Sort of even with the suit kind of callback is post-crisis. Like that's like kind of a Batman Incorporated suit that he's been rocking this whole time. But then it's New 52 elements. You see definitely when it comes to like multiple Joker and that's death of the family elements that are kind of carrying through all the way there. And then now, we're in this, it's, is this in the Rebirth timeline? Is it not? Is it just this mashup? Which is so great because I think it makes it possible for this book to be a classic that can stand on its own, because it is a great companion piece to the Killing Joke, but it's not truly a Killing Joke sequel. It makes it a companion piece to the stuff that Snyder did in Death of the Family, but it's not a sequel to Death of the Family, right? Like, it allows it's got enough of the great, like, you know, its ancestral Batman DNA built into it that it is familiar and recognizable without being beholden to those things too much, and allows itself to stand on its own in a really smart way. But it's cool to see so much of, like, you know, the sort of like bat stew that came together to make this thing.
Yeah, they've been messing around with continuity since, I mean, well before the 80s. But, like, you know, you had Crisis on Infinite Earths, which tried to clean everything up, deleting like a lot of, like, well, retconning, you know, like Earth 2 Batman and Yellow Pants Robin, like all those guys seemed to kind of vanish. And then they kind of brought them back, and Superboy Prime broke the source wall in Infinite Crisis. And then Grant Morrison tries to tie all his loose ends in together. And then they reboot everything with the New 52. And then somewhere along the lines comes Convergence, where they try to bring the multiverse back together. And that was a big failure of a mega event. And now Rebirth tries to just pick and choose what they want into which character. You know, let's blend 2 Superman together. Let's blend all these Batman together. And it's like, you know, outside of the Green Lantern and Flash, no one actually really changes hardcore, right? I mean, like, you go from Hal Jordan to Kyle Rayner, you go from Barry Allen to Wally West, and things are drastically different. They're totally different people underneath the mask. So, I mean, trying to keep up with continuity is just, at this point, it doesn't matter to me. I stopped trying to figure it out. I just appreciate the story for what it is in front of me as I turn the page. And,
yeah. Oh, we talked about this in a couple, well, back when it was the vlog shows back there, Pete, about is this continuity in these extended multi-issue storylines, is this a smart thing right now when comic books, the media is this comic book, is it on live support? The handwritten, the comic book stores, they're not in great shape, and it's a media that it's some point, hopefully, but some point it's going to be limited at best.
I think it depends on where you are. Like, when I go to my comic shop on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, that place is packed. I can't talk to my guy. We can't have a conversation just about anything. Like, he's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. So, I mean, you know, I can't imagine what it's like being in, like, Nebraska and reading comics, because, you know, everything's probably 3 days away. But I mean, I guess it's all about location. But in that sense, I guess, like, digital comics.
Well, it's like Garrett mentioned that his comic book shop is gone. You know?
Yeah, it closed down even before the pandemic.
So what do you do now? Where do you get books from? Do you order them online, or you just?
I'll either read digitally or order online. And honestly, I haven't bought a lot of new physical monthlies or bi-weeklies, which kind of bums me out. But you know, my wife's probably happier. Yeah, because I've got boxes and boxes of single issues everywhere, right? And I had you know, every single Batman issue since before New 52 up until a year, 18 months ago, maybe. Yeah. You know, and that kind of bums me out. But I'm like, all right, man, what are you really going to do with it? Like,
you know, even with the digital, even if it being accessible on your tablet, your phone, whatever, still, and in print, wouldn't it be easier, to get new people on board if they were easier to get into, and you're not picking up right in the middle of Joker War.
That's why they did those Walmart Giants. You know, for a while they were having those exclusive Walmart Giants that even comic shops weren't allowed to get until probably about 6-7 months later. And I mean, I remember getting into arguments with people about that before. They're like, "Oh, you just got issues with Walmart." I was like, "Well, no, you're not making this accessible."
Don't get me started about Walmart.
Well, I know you love your action figures and your pops from Walmart, but at times it felt like you guys were not you guys, but DC was burning the actual, you know, comic shop fan, comic shop reader, and the shop itself, just so they can get, you know, books out to Walmart. And I get it; they came out eventually, but they have been trying some different tactics. I'll say that.
Yeah. All right. Good discussion. And speaking of, we talked about Joker and Joker War and all this. A couple questions. This is Hobby. This is BOF Hobby. Are we oversaturated with Joker right now? Should DC give him a rest and bring him back madder than ever, like Batman 251 back, you know, my favorite individual Batman story back in 1973. What do you think about that?
I'm 100% behind it. I mean, he just got his own solo movie. You know, he just had 2 mega events, 3 Jokers and Joker War. He'll be back in the Snyder Cut, so that'll be popping up within a year. I wouldn't mind the Joker going a little hiatus while he tries to figure out, you know, his next, you know, dastardly plan.
Yeah, I'm on board. And if you look at sort of what the blueprint is for that, it's pretty damn good. So, you know, I was texting Bill the other night. I had some time to myself. The kids were asleep. My wife was at this like women's study thing, and I was just flipping through DCU to see what I should waste my time on. And there's a series of short little 5-minute interviews called The Batman, and it's there's like 3 episodes, little mini episodes with Denny O'Neil, and then 2 with Neil Adams. And you know, you guys, I don't have to say anything about how great they are, but in their run, it was like a year into it where they were doing these grounded, gritty sort of street level stories, you know, in the mid to early to mid 70s, transitioning.
And people wonder why that's my favorite version.
Right,
of Batman.
there's your jam,
yeah,
right?
Yes,
yeah, totally.
That's where I came. That's where I cut my teeth on, right there.
Julie Schwartz was like, "Hey, we got to get into some of the baddies again. We got to bring the rogues back." And they're like, "We don't know how to. We're not sure how to do it, right?" So they went away and thought about it, and that's how they created Ra's al Ghul, because he was like sort of this crossover. It could be like 70s Bond, eco-terrorist, real life ish with some supernatural elements.
Yeah.
And that was sort of their bridge. And they didn't bring Joker even right on the heels of that. They knew they had to work up to the Joker. And then when the Joker came back, it was, you know, Bill Finger Joker, like, you know, this sadistic killer, not the goofy clown game show host that they had for years.
I mean, the character had been this, you know, mischievous prankster for, you know, from the almost like 1941, 42, all the way up until he came back in 1973, you know? And then he came back as the Joker we know, basically we know today, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so then you take a look, fast forward, you know, 3 decades or so, and when New 52 comes out, what does Snyder do?
Yeah. Right.
You have to wait. You get a hint of Joker in Batman 1 and Detective 1, and then you have to wait a full year for Joker to come back. Like, it allows, I think it gives the creators a lot of creative room to grow and to build the anticipation, because if it's always like, is the Joker really Batman's greatest villain if they're only ever facing each other and they only ultimately ever come to a standstill? Like, I don't know, maybe still, but it's not as compelling. I think a pause, and you know, with what we've seen in Batman 101 recently, maybe that's a sign of things. You know, Bruce is moving into the city, he's going low tech. Maybe that'll be the street level crime stories, and the Joker gets to take a well-deserved rest for a little bit here. But I'd be totally on board if he did
that. I just want to see, you know, other characters, you know. I'd love the Mad Hatter to make a comeback. I feel like Hugo Strange hasn't been present in a while. When was the last time we saw Scarecrow, really? You know, Tom King did Jokes and Riddles. Snyder did Death in the Family. We just got done Joker Watch. It seems like we haven't had a break from Joker in a while. So, you know, I know Tomasi did a nice little Mr. Freeze story. He did a Two-Face story. James Robinson did a Two-Face story in Detective. So, I'd love to see just other members of the Rogues Gallery, you know, get some time to shine.
We haven't seen much of Catwoman recently. That would be nice. Oh wait.
Yeah.
She'll be back. The Batcat's coming back, guys. Jordan's coming out of hibernation wherever he is.
Oh my gosh, that was a blast from the past. You caught me by surprise there on that one there, Pete. Just speaking of Joker real quick and the film, I'm not Matt Reeves, but with the Batman, and if it's going to be a trilogy like he's said and we've talked about, I would maybe hint at Joker, like we talked about, like in the comics that Garrett just mentioned back in the day. Hint for 2, and I would do him in the last one. That's just me, you know.
I agree with you. I would wait for the finale when Batman's at his peak.
Yeah.
If I had it my way, I think, right, like no one's paying me to produce Batman.
Yes,
movies,
exactly.
That'd be great. But if I had it my way, these 3 movies that Reeves making, they wouldn't have a Joker. Joker would get introduced at the end of 3, and whether it was still Pattinson or a different Batman to take on the cowl, that would be the bridge to next trilogy that had the Joker in.
That'd
a
be
bunch
fun.
of it.
Interesting.
I'd be down for that. That's
Kind of-
something-
And sort of treat it like a, well, maybe not quite Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig, but more like a 007 transition from back in the day, Dalton to Brosnan or something like that, where it's soft reboot kind of, right? But let Reeves do his thing for 3 movies and then have the Joker be the bridge to this new actor and maybe cast and
maybe
creative
Reeves isn't
direction.
a Joker fan though. Like, who knows? If he doesn't really like the character, like why force him to do something? Because that's
Oh, yeah.
shoving Venom into Spider-Man 3. Because Sam Raimi openly admits he didn't like Venom. He didn't get the character. That's why the character really didn't translate well. Teasing Joker at the end of the finale, it kind of makes me think of Begins, because Begins didn't really set the world on fire in the theater, and they did tease Joker at the end. It wasn't until DVD sales that we really knew the lasting power of that movie. So that was kind of a gamble back then, but Nolan just left it all on the table. And if he was going to make his sequel, he had an idea, obviously. But
It's the
DVD sales.
Yeah,
And
it's a question, and I hate to. We always bring up. Can you make a Batman story that can be argued as definitive without including the Joker at some point?
Or Robin.
Right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty core elements that in some ways have helped shape
Catwoman,
and define, Batman himself.
Commissioner Gordon.
Whatever Reeves wants to do is cool with me. Like, I'm, if he wants to get Joker in the mix, fine, cool. It doesn't seem like we're getting him in this first one, but regardless of whatever random clickbait headline you may have seen someplace, I saw that. I was like,
don't get me started on those websites.
But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, Batman Begins. Yeah, man, not a huge hit in the theaters. Did well enough, and obviously Warner Brothers like, all right, we're going to move forward. And the DVD sales were huge. But do you remember how often that thing was on TNT on Saturday afternoons back in the day? It was like you could watch Batman Begins any weekend you wanted on TNT in the mid 2000s.
It must have been a cheap movie for the stations to kind of rent.
The home video is what probably led to getting the Dark Knight eventually, because that thing was and that movie had a lot of legs. It did really. I mean, it opened up.
I saw it.
And impressive, and then and it was people talk word of mouth. Oh, this is not what you thought. Go see it. It's awesome. So one more question. Even though we already know Bill's answer, Crazy Quilt. Well, I may surprise you. What Bat villain not yet done in live action should be in a future sequel? I guess just what Bat villain we've never seen would you like to see in a live action film? Pete.
For me, it's the Mad Hatter, and I don't know if we're going to get that in a Reeves movie. I feel like it's been kind of teased. That guy posted a picture of him under a top hat, so maybe I'm going to finally get my wish. But I really like Jervis Tetch, and I'm dying to see the Mad Hatter on live screen.
All right, Garrett.
Man, I don't think we're gonna get this one, just based on the tone and the sort of gritty street level real-ish world feel that Reeves seems like he wants to give us, which I'm cool. I'm on board with. But I've said for a long time I'd like to see Man-Bat in live action, because I think you could do it just separated enough from reality without being, you don't have to do it in a universe where aliens exist and where Darkseid's going to come down and Batman's going to need to fight Darkseid and everything else. But you could do it with just enough science fiction, like sort of genetic modification outside of what the science community thinks is moral or decent, that has this outcome that could be super cool to see in live action without being completely fantastical and becoming too cartoony. And I've got a soft spot in my heart for Man-Bat ever since on Wings of Leather, the first Batman animated series episode that I ever saw air. I think it was the first one that ever aired in like the primetime Fox debut spot. So that's one I've been wanting for a while. I don't think Matt's going to give it to us, and that's just fine. But somewhere
in my attic, boxed up, boarded and in a bag and in a tote, is the very first issue, or very first comic where Man-Bat appeared.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
very nice.
Yeah, I have it somewhere.
That could be a cool story. I mean, just kind of like, Batman kind of being framed and being chased by the police for murders or kidnappings that, a flying bat and people just kind of see. And I think it would be a cool angle.
And I think the human pathos are there too, because you can do this sort of like, Victor Freeze kind of tortured scientist, like searching for a cure for something that goes sideways and, horrible accident, now trauma. Yeah, I think there's a lot there. I would be
a little bit of the lizard, right? From Spider-Man.
Totally.
In there?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right.
And Francine, his wife, always plays a big part in it. So there is a little bit of a Mr. Freeze angle there.
True.
I just love it. Just reminds me how much I love Batman the animated series. Like talked Bill and I've talked about this. My love for this comes, just my generation. Pete, you're a little bit younger than me, but like, we kind of grew up with that. And as you get older, looking back at it, just how friggin' well they did with the villains in that kids cartoon. Right.
It's not a kid's cartoon. It's not very childish.
It's not. It isn't. But, it's to air on like Fox Kids afternoon block of cartoons. And you go back and you watch them like, holy crap, they really dug in. And like, Mr. Freeze is the prime example where they just like totally recreated that villain and brought in this emotional core. But they did a good job with that, like across the board. Scarecrow, maybe not, at least early appearances, not as much. But they just masterful storytelling in that.
I agree.
I got the box set. I break it out fairly often. Not going to lie to you. All right, we're going to plug some stuff in just a second, but I am going to. We're going to give away a Batman mini poster. This was actually. Let's see. Make sure. Okay. It's and I hope I'm not butchering this gentleman's last name. So if I am, forgive me.
I'm not going to complain about it.
Blame it on Texas.
Bill Sienkiewicz. It's the Batman Day 2020, and I believe it may or may not be related to the Batman because Matt Reeves. That's the one Batman Day poster or art that he retweeted, and it's we're going to give that away. So all I need you to do, if you'd like this, I think it's a 11 by 17 mini poster. Okay, maybe a 8, maybe a size up. 12 by 18 is the other one. Okay. Anyway, it's cool. I got one hanging right there in my office. So same thing, because I got 2 of them for this purpose. So if you would like it, just email me, jet@batman-on-film.com, and in the subject line, put, I listened to the first episode of the Batman Social Hour. And then in the body, give me your name and your contact mailing information. And I'm going to take all the entries, I'll throw them in a hat, pull one out, send it to the winner. Okay? So there you go. So email me.
Bill, am I eligible for this? Or
the team BOF is not eligible.
Oh, rats.
I'm sorry. It'd be people would be saying that there would be shenanigans at
Taken
hand.
to the streets.
I don't want any shenanigans or complaints of shenanigans. We're shenanigan free here at
no
Batman
mail or
on
fraud
Film.
here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again,
That's the way to be.
just email me @Batman on Film with the dashes in there, just like the URL. I listened to the first episode of the Batman Social Hour. Give me your contact information, mailing address, please, and we'll pick one at random and send it to you. All right, plugs. Garrett, what do you got?
Bill, you mentioned it already. I'm reviewing Justice League and Batman Superman titles over at the website. I would love to check those out. And you can follow me at Garrett WATO. It's Garrett Wato, GARRET WATO. We can talk about them. We can talk about anything else you like. I like to talk about fantasy football and Superman and He-Man and all my kids and everything else. So if you think you might be into that, love to have the conversations. Otherwise, watch this social hour and go check out any of the vlogs from the past, and we can talk about those too.
All right, Peter.
Please check out my latest review of Detective Comics issue 1029. You can follow me on all social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Zack Snyder's favorite, Vero, at Pete Illustrated. You can also follow my show that I co-host with Eric Holzman, the champion of Long Island, at straight_O_G. That is on Instagram and Twitter. Please check out our YouTube page where we have live streams, the Iceberg Lounge, SOG Tonight, and audio recordings of the podcast. And just, keep on just reading comic books and supporting DC Comics, because I don't want them to go anywhere. So just read books and support them, and, let's interact on Twitter.
Sounds good. You can follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film. There is a Batman Instagram. It's at Batman on Film. That is a Ryan Haas joint. He's in charge basically of the Batman on Film Instagram. And so shout out to Ryan Haas. That's all I got. Let's see what we want to say that after Joker War, I did pass the torch of Batman, reviewing Batman, to Ryan Lauer. Ryan Lauer took over at 101. I did it after the late great John Dearly passed. John had reviewed Batman since the beginning of doing reviews on Batman on Film of Batman. I mean, he did it all the way through. I took over after his passing, and then and I was, I always intended to hand it over to someone, and so that's Ryan's deal now. So make sure you check those out as well. So shout out to Ryan, and I guess that's all I got. Don't forget about the contest, and you want to win that mini poster and Batman on Film. Who's going to do it today? Because Pete's been doing. Pete, you know what? I hadn't talked any food lately. Real quick. If you cooked up anything, Pete, that you want to brag about here lately?
I just grilled up some delicious veal chops last night, and I was very pleased with them. And it was probably they got a nice piece of bone in them too, so I got some good bone marrow in there. So that was delicious.
Okay.
I grilled up myself last night.
Okay.
I was outside in the snow grilling away.
Okay. Garrett likes to cook as well. Any dish you've concocted lately that you want to brag about?
I grilled up a really nice ribeye big enough that it fed my family of 6. You wouldn't believe.
Beautiful.
I've got another one, same size. It's its sister cut of meat. I'll send you a picture of that thing. I took it out, seasoned it, pretty easy, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of chili or chili powder. I rubbed that in, let that sit for a day, took it out. Squeeze of lime, got it up to room temperature, high heat sear, about 6 minutes each side. It came out like, I told my wife, I'm like, I don't know if you think so, but this I think is the best piece of meat I've ever grilled. It came out really nice. So I was proud of that.
This last weekend, I got some shrimp, and you still get them up here, a little bit more pricier in North Texas than they are when I lived stone's throw from the coast, but I got some shrimp, some Gulf shrimp, and I grilled them, and I made some grilled shrimp. Grilled shrimp. I'm not talking about the Three Stooges. The grilled shrimp po' boys with the Cajun lemonade sauce. They were fantastic. It was fantastic. I also did some corn mok choux and some Cajun corn mok choux and some dirty rice. So. I've been following these pictures on Facebook. You've been making me hungry. I mean, not that it's hard to do, but yeah. We got to do that cook-off one day, or just. I know Rick's dying to talk about his mashed potatoes. I love those mashed potatoes. Or just do a vlog, a social hour on recipes. Like, you bring your recipe, bring some pictures, we'll post them up, talk about your recipe, and we'll get it done. So, yeah, I got to write that down. There, got it done. All right, there we go. Notes. All right, here we go. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive. Dadgum original. Come on, Garrett. Dadgum original. Here we go. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.
You have been listening to the official podcast of the one and only Batman on Film website. On Twitter, follow BOF at Batman on Film and the Batman Podcast Network at BatPod Network. For Jet and everyone at Batman on Film, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening to the authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.